I'm Lucia, and I'll be talking about the integration of Data Cloud with third-party platforms. A little bit more about me. I work as a technical consultant at Level Up Consulting. I'm working with mostly marketing cloud personalization nowadays, but I also work with marketing cloud and data cloud, of course, which is the topic of today's session. Currently 6 times certified, and I have also been working with the Salesforce ecosystem for past 2 years now, but I have been previously working in IT for, I think that it's now been 5 years. I'm also recently, I have started to take over the existing group, which is Zagreb Marketing Cloud community group. We have recently started doing everything again, but we're a small community. Like there is not many Salesforce people in Zagreb at all. So I'm also maybe looking to hopefully expand it more. And I would also like to say a few words about Level Up Consulting. So we're based in Zagreb, and we mostly act within the Europe, but also we have some projects in the US and some in Africa. But hopefully there will be more. We're mostly focused on marketing cloud, but we also do Pardot, sales service, like pretty much everything that's popular now. But I hope that we'll even grow even further. There is around, I would say, 30 of us, but we're growing fast, and I hope that it will also be much bigger number in the future. Okay, so for today's agenda, I will be talking about the implementation of Data Cloud with third-party activation system, which challenges we faced during the implementation of a specific use case, and what skills and resources you need. So basically, I will be telling a story about our first implementation of Data Cloud for our client and what happened, like what we learned from that, and something to share with you. So maybe you can also take something from it as well. But firstly, I will just briefly tell a few things about Data Cloud. So I would say from my perspective that it is the customer 360 overview now. It was mentioned everywhere pretty much for a long time, but I think that considering everything that's happening, that it will be the future of the Salesforce. And basically, the important thing to know is that you need to basically act on data that is created in the Data Cloud. So on the profiles, you can use segmentation and insights, as well as other things like actions and flows from recent updates. But here I'll be focusing a bit more on ingestion and activation, and pretty much it allows you to have multiple ingestion options, either from Salesforce or any external sources. I will say that when you have Salesforce sources, it's much easier to work with them opposed to any external sources, but it's also possible to do implementations with clients that don't have anything from Salesforce at all. So it's actually pretty useful even for them. And also important thing to know is that implementations can significantly vary in complexity. So quick implementations can last for a few weeks. I think that the minimum that Salesforce suggested is around 6 weeks, but complex implementations are longer. So I would advise you to check that. And then depending on the use cases that you'll be working on, plan the timeline and be careful with it, because it can be really complex really fast. So a little bit about getting started. So if it is your first time implementation, preparation is absolutely the key, as it has been like for a long time the source of the materials was on PLC, but I think that it's moved now on Trailhead nowadays because of the Data Cloud Consultant Certificate. So definitely check all the materials there. And also help site is also very useful, especially when you're planning the steps of either integrations, data modeling, everything. So absolutely check everything that you can do there. Also, it is really important to evaluate use cases on technical level, as you need to know where you will ingest the data from and where you need to deliver data to, if that's the type of use case you're going for. And then based on that, plan the data model. And yeah, now it sounds really straightforward, but I'll tell you a bit more about how it was for us. So we had, for our first implementation, a third-party activation target that we needed to deliver the data to. It was actually one ad tech platform. And of course, that means that there is no out-of-the-box connector, but there are options for custom integration. So you have a cloud file storage activation target. Back in the day when we did the implementation, it was only Amazon S3, but I think that nowadays you have, with the recent updates, Azure and Google Cloud as well. So you have more options now for that. And what actually happens in the background when you do the activation is that Data Cloud will deliver CSV files to Amazon S3. I also believe that Parquet files are now available, so they are a bit more advanced, but also depending on the use case, you will need to choose what to work with. And since, yeah, I mentioned that it's important what is happening behind the scenes. In our case, we had a few options. So as we weren't really familiar with the system, there were three options: that data can be transferred directly from Data Cloud to the end system if S3 is present there, but also that may not always work, although there are, like, I would say pretty much any platform uses some kind of a cloud tool to transfer the data on, but not necessarily always. And you can also do the custom S3, like for example, if a client has their own S3, and AWS in general, and then you can also add a custom bucket there, and then use that to handle services from the AWS directly. And also, depending on the end system's technical capabilities, there are layers of complexities present that can make this harder to achieve. So be careful about the file requirements. So are they configurable in the end system or not? And what are the data requirements to make the data usable in the end system? As that's often also not something that you can easily get, as we had a problem in our case. And now I'll talk more about that. So the standard export, I believe it still looks like this. So there is a certain file structure to the export. So you have the dates and also the segment name, the segment file, the CSV, and the segment metadata. And it looks something like this one on the top right. So it has the ID of profile inside CDP. We had to use the specific anonymous ID for each profile. And you also have the version, but it's not important for this case. And also, in our case, this anonymous ID was a bit of a problem in our case, as we had a lot of back and forth with the external consultants for that system that we worked the implementations on, as we had to capture that ID because we couldn't get it from any other system, but we still had to find the source to get it inside the Data Cloud. So basically, we had a lot of back and forth with them in order to enable getting that ID to the system. And since it was a tech platform, it had the ID, the option to have the ID on the website. So since the client also had the MCP implementation that we did for them earlier, we used the MCP's Unified Customer Profile, since we're syncing it already inside the system, to get that ID also inside, because we could also use that with anonymous profiles that we also enabled to be ingested from MCP. And also, what we also had the problems with is that that AdTech platform had to have a specific naming, so IDs of segments there, they had to be manually created in the segment there. So pretty much we needed to know for each segment activation which ID is ID of that segment inside the AdTech platform. So unfortunately, as I believe that segmentation is still not extensible in terms of metadata. In order to describe it even further, we had to enforce the naming convention, unfortunately, for the client, which unfortunately I do not believe that is the best approach, but it was the only way we could get it working there. So we had to get this output out of the files. So for example, you can see here that we don't have headers here for the CSV. We had only the anonymous ID of people that were part of the segment, and also the segment ID for the end system, which was a bit of a problem to get, but how we fix that, I'll just move on to the next slide. So, okay, so I basically here will explain that we had to get the data to S3, the S3 that was managed on the client side, in order to make some changes to that. And AWS has many options, like for services. I think that it's pretty much over 200 of them that can be used for like pretty much anything, but yeah, it was a bit of a problem as we didn't have the expertise to do that, and we had to think a bit more on how we will approach this problem. And yeah, so basically to us, AWS handling was a bit of a complication as we are a small team still, but we were like mostly Salesforce dedicated, so we had to find how to overcome this challenge. And since AWS is offering a wider array of solutions, but still has, I would say, a pretty steep learning curve, and I wouldn't say that you can like have quality knowledge about it in a short amount of time, and it can also easily incur additional costs for the client in the case of some kind of misconfiguration or code issues or whatever. It was a bit of a dangerous approach for us to do it on our own, and of course that means that it is even more responsibility for you to handle. So basically, since we are a small company still, there wasn't anybody from our end that could handle that, so we had to get a partner to handle that. So definitely, I would say that is a better option to go for, as you will be able to offer a more quality solution to the client. And also, like getting the new person in the company is very costly, and also if you want to have an additional stream of income, it should be planned like really with much more planning, and it would also be a really long process in order for you to get that or to become a partner or whatever. So definitely we had to get somebody from the external side. But also, if you are working in a bigger company, definitely, if you have the resources and people who can handle that, get them as early on as possible into the project, as I believe that that could be really beneficial, and you will have a little bit less of a trouble with project implementation. However, this project at the end had a successful implementations. Clients were happy, and yeah, we managed to do it before the deadline, as we had a really, really strict deadline last year for this. So yeah, basically now what we learned is that building a technical expertise is a must. I would say also, like, since Data Cloud's landscape is rapidly changing, it has become more than just a marketing tool, so it's far more advanced, and as far as I have heard, it will be like the thing for Salesforce now. I would definitely say focus on that, but still, even if connectors change or anything else, I would still say building a technical expertise is absolutely a must, not just for the business that you're working for, but also for yourselves as well. Then know the platform you're working with. It can be also always a bit overwhelming, but I would say that it was, in Data Cloud's case, definitely worth it. Dedicate the time to the third-party system, and also know your limitations of the resources that you have also in your team, and yeah, you can find help on the way. Okay, also I think that I did the QA part, so does anybody have any questions?
So this is just like a basic question around Data Cloud. Do you know how the licensing model for it works? As far as I know now, all customers
I will just say that I'm not 100% sure if what I'll say now is correct, but as far as I know, there are still like two different types of licensing. Like the new changes that happened, there is a lot of limits, like in terms of pricing. So if you exceed that, like for example, if you go for that freemium version, be careful that client know what is going to be built. There is, I think, that 20 different things that can be built for that. So there is, I don't know, if you have some credits, I think that you get 2,500 credits for the client for a year, like until the contract expires or something like that. Then I don't know, you have, I don't know, 1,000 records for ingestion, for example, and then it will be charged for 1 credit. So then you need to plan the amount of data that will go in. And also, I think that Data Cloud licenses are different from CDP licenses. So also be careful with that, as those limits, I don't think that they work like also in CDP in the same way. So I think that it can be more to some kind of unlimited, I would say, but definitely I would check that with account executives. So I believe that they should know better, but I'm not still like sure if that has started like on a very big scale, but definitely, yeah, be careful about the limits, especially for Data Cloud.
Is Data Cloud used kind of like a middleware, or do users actually log in?
Yeah, you log in into it. So basically, it's an app. So when you log into Salesforce, you just go to the Data Cloud in the app launcher, and then there it is. Anybody else?
What was your use case again? You're basically like pulling data from
Yeah.
another system through Marketing Cloud through Data Cloud to like push it to Marketing Cloud.
Yeah, we pushed it. Okay, so for that first use case that we had, we also later added the Marketing Cloud, of course, but it was an ad tech platform. So basically, they were like I would say bid the ad space or something like that. I'm not an expert on ad tech, but basically there is like some kind of an ID for the user that is always drop there when you go there to their site and accept cookies and stuff like that. But it's anonymous in that system, so that's why it was a bit problematic for us, as you couldn't just, I don't know, import data from there and then bring it back in, because you had to find another way to get that ID to the data cloud in order for segments to work.
You said that data cloud and CDP are different.
They're technically same, but I think that for the licensing, but definitely, yeah, check that with the account executives.
Is it like the same stack?
It should be technically same, but in licensing different. All right. If there are no more questions, then yeah, I will end this. But you can find me. We can talk outside, or even more around regarding data cloud. So if you have any questions, feel free to find me out and then